Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome back to Sooner Intel. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. I'm here with the host of Sooners 360, Mr. Chris Mason. Kchris will be along shortly, I believe, anyway. And but if you love college football, you know you're in the right place, and we're gonna get to talking about everything that's going on in this bye week for the Oklahoma Sooners. It should have been quieter, I would think, there, Mr. Mason. We were expecting quieter, I would say. But you end up with a major injury to, John Mateer broke his thumb during the first quarter. I mean, he played very well through that, toughed it out, delivered the win for Oklahoma. Now you're looking at the very least, Michael Hawkins for the next game. And my guess is probably at least through Red River as well. There's some thoughts and talk about, that there's some people that have made it through this injury a little quicker. I think holding the football and that's your throwing hand, I don't know that I guess I'll start off about asking you that. Would you risk it if he's not fully ready to rock and roll come Red River weekend?
So I think the example folks are using or referencing, at least I've heard the most part, is Jared Goff had this surgery and came back in like 9 days, I think, or something along those lines.
But they're
we have
different
no
injuries. I mean, the
spectrum, the spectrum of what's broken it's hard to know. I don't think, obviously Dr. Chin, our new favorite orthopedic surgeon for the program and for the state, apparently, since I think today got named Dr. Chin Day, I believe, by the acting attorney general for the state of Oklahoma. So I think, Jason, obviously a part of this is going to be how Michael Hawkins performs, and how they think he does. So I think part of that is unknown, right? We won't know that until we get to see Mike running the first team offense, for at least a half versus Kent State, depending upon how cautious they want to be in leaving him out there versus getting Whit Newbauer some plays as well, which I don't think is the world's worst idea. So I think Mateer wants to play in this game. Obviously, he's amped up. He wants to play in it. I think you have to. I think it's a tight line for Brent to walk here, right? You don't want the kid to hurt himself, and you don't want him being less than 100% and hurting the team.
Right.
Not that I think Mateer would choose that, but he's obviously such a leader, such a just a warrior dog, whatever term you want to use. So I think you've got to almost protect John against himself a little bit, both physically and otherwise. Mm-hmm. So I think there's just so many variables at play here. It's hard today to know what to do. I mean,
Chris Mason, hold on. What are you talking about now?
We're talking about whether or not
Mateer, you play Mateer at Red River.
Oh, gotcha.
And do you feel like that's something that you would want to risk if you're Brent Venables and this staff? If he's not all the way there, do you want to risk that for Red River?
I was just saying that we don't know the extent of the injury. Some folks have come back quicker. The mean seems to be 3 to 4 weeks, which puts us somewhere in South Carolina, Ole Miss territory.
Right.
But John's obviously going to want to play in this game. He's not going to want to miss. I mean, he's from Little Elm, Texas, right? He's not going to want to miss this.
Sure.
And he gives us in usual circumstances, he obviously gives OU their best chance to win. But we don't know where he would be. Like I said, the Jared Goff injury seems to be the one that folks are sort of holding hope to. That's sort of a 9-day injury. So I think we just don't know yet. But I think, we should all be prepared that Mike Hawkins is starting the Texas game and work from there and see what the injury the injury reports look like Wednesday before the Red River game. I mean, there's a good chance that that if Brent might just declare him out to just try and stop the circus around it from that aspect and give Mike as much confidence and not turn Red River Week into a complete circus of people trying to figure out and rumors and counter rumors and stuff like that. So, but Brent's got to walk that line, and it's not an easy one.
Well, okay, and I'll go to you, Kchris, and welcome into the show from the Horns Down podcast, our boy Kchris Griffin. What are you thinking about all this, and what was your initial reaction when you found out about the injury?
Initial reaction was, okay, what the hell is actually happening with the hand? So, you heard hairline fracture, you've heard, broken hand, this and that. You've heard this, that, and the third about the injury or whatnot. But, at the end of the day, we have 3 weeks. We have 3 weeks, down there 4 weeks.
Sure.
If necessary for the hand or whatnot. They're not going to let the extent. I think the competitive nature and all the rest of that stuff, you let players go be players. If he could play in Red River and he's close to 100%, because by then, I mean, he's going to get all the rest and everything that he needs. I'll be honest with you. I didn't want him playing in this Kent State game in the first place. Honestly, I wanted to rest as many guys as we possibly could. I'm kind of bought in. I mean, I've kind of bought into this whole NFL model that we have going now. I think people are slow to really come around to that. They're not even around the curve yet to realizing what's actually happening here in present day college football. So it's one of those things where you look at the season and it really models out. And that's what OU is doing from front office all the way to the field now and the rehab and all the rest of that stuff. It's really looking kind of like an NFL organization. And you're not seeing that around across America, not necessarily because a lot of teams haven't dealt with a lot of these injuries, simply just because some of these teams are not built the way that we are, especially front office wise. So I think the thing is that Watkins is more than durable. He's more than prepared for the moment or whatnot, I believe. I think he has a better coaching staff as well. I go back and I know people, it's a sore spot right now, the Navy game, but, for a little while there, he did look like a
Hawkins
quarterback.
didn't play bad in the Navy game, though.
Huh?
Hawkins didn't play bad in the Navy game. Actually, the
point,
defense wasn't very good in the Navy game.
But that's my point, though. My point, not even talking about the defense or anything that happened in that game. Talking about Arbuckle. Arbuckle's there. Arbuckle helped him look like an actual quarterback. So that was the thing. I mean, at the end of the day, we could go into that game and talk about Joe Jung calling the same game plan that he ran against Alabama and LSU 3 straight games, but we don't need to. But the thing is that he's played in some big environments. He's played in some good games. So the thing is that kid is not going to miss a beat. It's just a fact of, third downs, different things, kind of the nuances of this offense. Does he have those now? You heard good things about him this spring, seeing him kind of in, spring ball as well. It looked like he had a lot of the fundamentals down. I think the biggest thing for him is trusting the offense, not necessarily just relying on his legs when things break down. I don't think that you have to do that, no matter if it's Texas, no matter if it's not. And like I told you guys in text message, I'll be honest with you.
Well, if we're going to run the ball, if we're going to run quarterback run, he's probably better at that. He's faster.
He's faster. But what I would just say is that I'm not scared of Texas like a lot of people out there are. I'm be honest with you, my respect for Texas fluctuates. Yes, they have a really good defense. Offense is it sputters here and there. Thing is that going up there to Ohio State and holding them to 14 points. Yes, you want to say that's impressive, but two, Ohio State was coming in there with a basically a freshman, a first-time quarterback, first-time starter, and that type of game.
First-time offensive coordinator, new lineman, new running back.
Exactly.
And what you saw was Texas wasn't putting points on the board. Why in the hell would they put the ball in harm's way and give them a reason to be back in the game? I mean, I think that they did that purposely, right?
Now, I'll say this and I'll pass it back to you, Jason. But just from a player standpoint, just from you know, whatever it takes, man. You know what I'm saying? By any means necessary. You don't want to lose the season. And the whole thing is that as much as Herb Street and Joey Galloway and everybody wants to say and Joel Klatt now, for some odd reason, he has jumped off of OU's dick. Excuse me, I'm just gonna be honest with you if I may be blunt. Joel Klatt has now became, I wouldn't say an OU hater, but he's still a naysayer, right? So the whole thing is that yes, we have to play those teams, but those teams also have to play us, and our defense is really good. And I think that when you sprinkle in Eli Bowen back in there, and then now you're getting Kendall Dolby, who's had a couple of games underneath him, that's only going to help. Now that you get Giovanni Gibson, and the thing is that regardless of when Mateer comes back, the fact of the matter is that I think Arbuckle is going to keep things steady as he possibly can. And let's be real. Let's be real. Again, outside of a couple of games, you can include put the Texas game in there. Kind of second half, maybe kind of late third quarter, that Ole Miss game. South Carolina, because of those 3 picks that we threw early on. But most of those games last year, even with that offense that we had, those were 1-score games on the road. Missouri, especially. Ole Miss in the first half were up 14-10.
Yeah. If Watkins is playing in those games instead of Jackson Arnold, they win. At least a couple of them.
There's an argument to be made there. My only thing is just the fact that you went in there not only handicapped literally because of injuries, but you went in there handicapped simply because just the offense. It was a thing where teams knew if they could score 17 points on you, I think that this defense, where it's at now, they will give you enough chances to win this game. So if we go down there, which I think that we would be a touchdown favorite, 6.5, 7 point, maybe 10-point favorite over South Carolina if we were to line it up and play today and everybody was healthy. I think that we'd be a favorite over them. However, I think that's a winnable game. Why? Because
they're trash.
I think that the schedule is a little bit more favorable, and we'll talk about that later on tonight, but I think it's a little bit more favorable than what people are making. But at the same time, I do not expect us to go undefeated, people. If we were to drop 3 ball games, I would understand. I have us dropping only 2. But at the same time, again, I want Mateer healthy, and if he is healthy enough to play, I think he plays.
Yeah. Listen, and here's the thing. I think that obviously they're going to play Mateer if he's healthy enough to play. It cleared. I think somebody said it in the chat a few minutes ago. If he's cleared by the doctors and the medical staff, then sure. Okay. But here's the deal. I mean, the idea that you're going to get the same Michael Hawkins that you had last year when they didn't have an O-line for a big part of the time while he was there. And a lot of this stuff, the bad stuff that we talk about when we talk about Michael Hawkins playing was the South Carolina game when the scheme was to use Bauer Sharp, who was a pass-catching tight end, not a blocker, one-on-one against All-American edge guys. A first-round draft pick and a future first-round draft pick. And all 3 of those turnovers, they had him one-on-one, not the offensive, even the offensive line as out of sync as it was at that point of the year. Even then, they weren't even going up against these edge guys. They were pinching in on all 3 of those plays. They didn't do that whenever they finally pulled him out. And he didn't handle it well, but who the hell would have? We know that Jackson wouldn't have. So here's the thing that I would say about it. Look, I think that the guy's skill set is through the roof. I'm not telling you that I think he's better than John Mateer, and I've told you guys plenty of times that I believe that John Mateer is what this program needed for a lot of reasons. Because number one, he knew the offense. His ability to work with with Buckle. I mean, he's teaching the offense. He's a vocal leader, and he brings swagger and confidence with him that this team sorely, sorely, sorely needed. In the end, we've heard over and over again. I just heard Teddy and Gabe talking about it today, that the most dynamic player throughout spring and fall was not John Mateer. It was Michael Hawkins. That he made at least as good of throws and big wow runs and throws. So we know that he can layer the ball in there. We know he can get a lot of stuff done. They didn't lose the game to Navy because of it, for damn sure. We know that. You know, they lost momentum off of that long run. And I mean, it's a fucking bowl game. Who gives a shit? But he performed, right? He certainly, I would tell everybody that goes back talks about, well, Jackson Arnold delivered the win against Alabama. Shit. If he'd have been in on those plays that Jackson broke loose on, he'd have been in the end zone on both of them. You'd have won by a lot. More than 24-3. No shade to Alabama there, Kimberly. Thanks for coming in, as always. But just saying, my concern over this football team is not. This defense is legit, and this is where you're leading with this defense anyway. This is what is going to win football games for you, is the fact that there ain't nobody that can block these guys. There's nobody that can keep them off of your ass in the backfield, and that includes Texas, and I don't think that their offensive line has been as good as Auburn's has. F Auburn, F them trees, by the way. But, you know, I would just tell you that I just don't see that it's that big of a thing. Well, you're not expecting him to come in here and like win the game for you. That's another thing I heard from Gabe and Teddy. Go in there and do your job. Don't turn the ball over. Run the offense. The same thing that you're asking Mateer to do. You got Mateer in his ear. He's going to be talking with him, and they're going to be helping him out on the sideline. Look, I think that there's a reason why you've heard so many good things about Michael Hawkins in the offseason, and it's because he's damn good. He's the future of the program, and it's why we talked about early in the year, who's got a better quarterback situation than Oklahoma? Who's got a better quarterback? Because you got the guy that was, you know, he's leading the Heisman race at the moment, at least, if you're listening to everybody. Okay, cool. But if you did have an injury like this, you were going to have a guy that is dynamic and can come in and do the same thing. He's done very well in this offense. I'm not as concerned as a lot of people are. I know that there's a lot of PTSD still rolling through the fan base. I'm not among those folks.
Hawkins has to find a balance between knowing when to be explosive, knowing when to take his chances, knowing when to do what he needs, knowing when he can fit the ball in certain areas and all the rest of that stuff, and also just find that balance on the other side of knowing when, hey, I just need to manage the game. Like I can rely on my defense to get us where we need. We just need to play, the field position game. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's okay. Not necessarily take a sack, but maybe just take the underneath throw, right? You know that you're still probably 2 yards, 3 yards short of the sticks, but at the same time, field position game, right? Let's force them in there. There will be situations, there will be areas where there will be things open. Again, this is a chance where I say this right here. With John Mateer, there's a lot more things you can do because of just his command of the offense. But if you stick to the fundamentals and you don't get cute on 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, different things like that, you have to help him out. With everybody looking at Arbuckle, obviously, you have to help him out to get him those scenarios, right? So screens, different things like that, those are going to be a big part of this. But at the same time, just to get him in the rhythm of being able to go north and south with the ball, not with his legs, but with his arm. So he can do it. He can make the throws. He can do certain things. But if you stick to the fundamentals of this offense, I think that you'll be fine for the most part. But again, I think that what we have to do as a fan base right now is not listen to Thamel, Pete Nakos, OU insiders, hell, us, Sooners Intel right now, we just kind of got to play it week by week right now, honestly, simply because we still got Kent State. And me, I have always been a person where I knew walking into a gym, no matter if I already knew in my heart of hearts, I'm going to drop 30 on this team. I'm still going to respect this team just like they're anybody else, simply because I have four other guys that they may not bring their A game, and just because I have 30 doesn't mean that that other team won't get hot and have 50. You get what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where I still respect the opponent. And plus, it's going to be good film. A lot of good film, good reps. And the biggest thing that I want to see this game here is obviously outside of seeing not Dolby, but seeing Eli Bowen possibly get on the field, seeing Giovanni Gibson get on the field, a
Oh,
run game.
yeah. Real
Yeah.
quick, we got a couple of super chats. I didn't even bring them up a minute ago, but Coach
Go
Riggs,
ahead.
thank you for the super chat. Hawkins with these wide receivers and Buckle is dangerous. And Michael Deesh, I meant to get to you a second ago. I just didn't want to interrupt anybody, but don't panic. Hawkins has starter experience, now a great surrounding cast and good offensive coordinator. Old enough to remember our star quarterback broke his leg. They retooled the offense around a freshman backup and won the Natty. Thank you for the super chat, Michael. Appreciate that. And I can remember that too. That was that's when I started loving Oklahoma as much, watching those games with my pops and Jamel Holloway. I wouldn't exactly I think it's a different time, but I will tell you this. I think they wanted to go and get a quarterback because you needed to make sure that you in case of injury and stuff. And I think that's why it was so important to do that. And Chris Mason, do you think that, I mean, I was really glad that Michael Hawkins stayed around. And this is why, because you just never know with a guy that runs and all that. I mean, he didn't get hurt running the ball. He got hurt throwing it, but it was important to keep him around, don't you think?
Well, they obviously they spent to keep him around in spring, post-spring.
Yeah.
He could have left post-spring. He had a very good winter campaign. He had a very good spring. Everybody who's seen him this summer and saw him during August camp raved about the improvements he's made, how much better he looks. So, like a lot of things from last year, I kind of throw out. If you're latching on to Hawkins' performance last year, you just got to move on and throw it away and judge him from what we see this year, because it's just so different. And he's had a chance to develop. He has an actual QB coach and a QB analyst who've both worked very hard with Hawkins and are, praising him every time they have a chance to talk about him. So I think, just like, last year was just a mess in so many ways. It's just like, let's just put it aside, guys. It's a new year. Hawkins was the guy they kept. The Gonzalez kid who went to Pitt was apparently realized that he had no chance of being the backup behind Hawkins, the Holstein kid. So yeah, I think it just seemed like we'd made one big step forward with winning versus Auburn, and we weren't even allowed to enjoy it for like a day, 2 days before we got the material news. So I think it's more about the momentum. The bigger concern I have is sort of some of the mental things and what it does to the team. Does this, the momentum they had and the confidence they had on defense, knowing that they had material behind them. So we'll just see. But I think we're in better shape than we could have been. We could have been in worse shape for this situation.
That's what I was. We're
in better shape. And I even have third string kid from all the reports that I've got. Kid can throw the ball. So we just got to go through this, see how many games it is, and play it with our elite defense, which is getting. Jaden Jackson was a freshman All-American, and now he's maybe an All-American this year.
I think he may be the best inside guy in the country, and if he isn't, it might be David Stone.
So, so you've got those forces at work on defense, and you've got Eli back, who was a freshman All-American, just to remind everybody, and hasn't played yet. If he can raise his game up and raise his level of play, and you add that to the mix of the guys we have, which may be a nice segue for us to talk a little bit about sort of our bye week review.
Yeah, we could do that. Let's jump into that a little bit. I'll uh I'll kind of pop some stuff up here, but basically, and obviously we've got no Oklahoma game coming up this weekend. We'll get into our pick fives here in just a little bit as well. But as we did our predictions for coming into the season, obviously myself and Mr. Mason had us at 9-3 on the year. Kchris had us going 10-2. Some of these things we can look at, but let's go into what we're expecting in the bye week and reviewing what we've seen in this first 4 weeks. The first question out there, I mean, do you want to change your overall record prediction for Oklahoma? And Kchris didn't, and you didn't. I almost feel like you can. I would say I was at 9-3. I think that they can go 10-2. I don't believe at all at all in South Carolina at all. I think
No, really.
no, I think they suck.
Yeah.
But I do think that Tennessee's better than I thought they were. So there's the and you got to go on the road to for that one. I think it's yet to be seen what Ole Miss is really all about. Defensively, I think they're going to struggle, and I don't know that either one of these quarterbacks is going to. I don't know that anybody's going to deal with this defense very well. So I can see 10-2 happening at this point. I don't know that I'm ready to predict it necessarily, but I do think, honestly, I don't feel any different other than I know that this is the best defense in the country at this point. So I feel better about it.
Yeah, I stuck with still sticking with 9-3, just because I think some games have gotten easier and some games seem to be potentially more difficult. So it's a little bit of a push and pull kind of thing going on. We'll know a lot more after this week when we have a chance to see some teams play games again. But I'm still sticking with 9-3. I'm happy with that number. And if one of those losses is when Mateer is out, the playoff committee, I know you finishes on a hot streak at the end, the playoff committee is going to have to take a look at that. I mean, they have in the past, and take a look at the fact we played without our starting quarterback. So I think 9-3 is still pretty solid. Kchris, you still sticking with 10-2?
For now, I definitely am. I believe in his defense. I think you're getting healthier, and I think that you will get good play, really good play. We will go against some really talented receivers down the line. Do not get me wrong. It's just how many Cam Colemans are we going to, have to worry about, right? Leaving our quarters on an island with them. Obviously, Ryan Williams, the Brazel kid um,
Tennessee.
from Tennessee. You know that Ole Miss is going to have a couple of wide receivers. You got the Nick Harbor, you got the Harbor kid as well. I swear, I still call him Kyle Pitts. I think that he's a if Dan Mullen was calling that offense, he'd be a superstar right now. But he's definitely a star. He's a guy that can stretch the field as well. So you will see guys that have kind of that body type, but Cam Coleman is special on his all on his own. So I think the defense will get you there. I think that the offensive line can get healthier. And again, Chris Mason and I have talked about it plenty of times. I don't need I'm and with this offense right now, present day, I'm just going off of what we've seen and what we have. Uh, I don't necessarily need a 200-yard rusher. I don't need a 150-yard rusher or even a 100-yard rusher. I just need it by committee. I need guys that can get 3 to 4 yards consistently and keep us in second and four, third and four situations, right? So I just think that the offense, this team is not peaked yet, and I think that at the end of the day, one thing I can't question, and I have questioned a little bit in the past, is just how competitive guys are, and guys are competitive on both sides of the ball, especially at wide receiver. No matter how small, no matter what's the knock on those guys go out there and they get it done, right? Satania, plenty of controversy around him in that Auburn game, but you look at the stat sheet and you say 9 for 127, can't deny that, right? So I'm gonna stick with my pick. I really do. I'm really bullish on this team right now. Don't know how we're gonna get it done, but I feel like we can get it done. So I'll stay with that for now.
Okay, so which one game do you think has changed from the preseason in terms of the difficulty for OU? I think it's I think it's Missouri for me because Prabula is playing pretty well at quarterback. Their transfer running backs are playing well, and I'm not sure about their defense yet, but overall, I think Missouri's playing better than I'd anticipated.
We get that game at home,
Yeah,
and they had a really good game plan for Dylan Stewart. I'll give them that. But in my mind, I think that collectively, you won't just be able to single out our Mason Thomas on our defensive line. You'd be foolish to do that. But and I'll give you that. That's a good pick. I say Tennessee. I think simply because some of the things that they want to do definitely counter some of the things that we want to do on defense with throwing that deep ball, trying to get that look right there, trying to get those matchups or whatnot.
Yeah, Aguilar is
Um,
not afraid to throw.
yeah, not afraid of Tennessee, but it's just one of those things where they can exploit any type of aggressiveness that we have. Are we a team that can sit there and can we create a real pass rush with just 4 or 5, sending 4 or 5, right? So I mean that's kind of the question, like how aggressive do you want to get? Because last year they got you on a couple of those, and those were kind of well, I mean, we know what really decided that game, but let's just stick with this narrative I'm gonna throw out there. That those were kind of the gut punches that really kind of led to just there was no really nothing else that you can do outside of the fumbles. I will say that. So
Well,
yeah,
and I think, yeah, I mean, when you had an opportunity to go out there and get a lead if you're Oklahoma and didn't get it done, and I think you know left that defense on the field a few too many times. I think uh, Boganowski kind of disagreed with me when we talked about. I think Billy Bowman kind of was had his hand in the cookie jar on that long touchdown. And kind of looking and not being where he needed to be. Although that wasn't really his man, but being the safety, he could have stepped in front of that ball. But in the end, it was turnovers by the offense that really hurt them in that game. So I think that defensively, if you can go up there now, the main thing is that it's going to be rowdy there at Neyland Stadium. That would be the one that concerns me that I really wasn't concerned about before because I didn't think that they were going to be that good. They've definitely been better. I'm not positive how good Georgia is just yet. They're still undefeated, and I'll tell you what, Gunnar Stockton looked really good against Tennessee. I feel like by this time, you may have Mateer back, and if you're still playing Hawkins, he should be cooking by then, if nothing else. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's a good opportunity. But look, I don't. Again, the teams that I think that you could lose to, it would probably be Tennessee. I don't think Mizzou's coming into Norman and winning that game. I think they're better than we gave them credit for to start off the season. No doubt about it. Ahmad Hardy is a dude. Straight up, the guy's getting it done. Prabula's been good as well. I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen them up against a really, really good defense because that's not what South Carolina is, despite all the other crap that people like to say about them. That being said, LSU still concerns me. They do have a good defense. I feel like their offense comes around at some point. We'll get into the picks here in a few minutes, but I mean, that's still a concern. And then, I've said I think it's it's a lot to ask for OU to go into Tuscaloosa and win. I think that's a tough one. But to be honest with you, I feel like you could probably split between Tennessee, LSU, and you might catch one there. And I think Alabama, again, that's a tough one to go in there and get. But I think we're going to find out a lot more about them this weekend if they really are kind of back to their old ways. The Florida State game concerned me about Bama a little bit. So when I see what they do against Georgia, we'll see. You know what I mean? Brandon Snake, thank you for the super chat. Is it crazy to think not many O-lines can stop our Mason Thomas? I don't think many O-lines can stop anybody on that defensive line. But yeah,
So,
R. Mason came in with his motor running, didn't he?
all right. So moving forward, in terms of offensive MVP, I think we can pretty much all agree it's Mateer. That hasn't changed from what we thought preseason.
Well, I guess depending on what happens with his injury, but yeah,
But to date,
yeah, of
first
course,
four games of the first four games.
absolutely, yeah, he's
I
been the
think
guy.
I think the more interesting one is defensive MVP because I think you could choose 5 or 6 different guys here. I went with Jaden Jackson.
Mhm.
Chris, you went with R. Mason Thomas.
Yeah, I went with R. Mason Thomas simply because I think that he changes things. He opens up things for people.
For the folks.
Coming into the season, we definitely, I think, hopefully you guys agree with me on this, but I definitely said like, hey, we have to figure out who on that other side, Marvin Jones Jr., Taylor Wine, Danny Okoye, or whoever, who is going to step up on that other side, because they're going to run a lot of different mini games at R Mason to keep him
Sure.
occupied, right? So I think that he's somebody that changes things for the rest of the defense because you have to pinpoint him and you have to pinpoint Jaden Jackson, and then that helps other guys. Some of the twists and some of the stunts, I don't even think that we have to necessarily do a lot of twisting and stunting, but it's just the fact that a lot of those mini games or whatnot, you can take advantage of it with that simply because um, they're obviously trying to game plan around those two first and foremost to establish what they're trying to do offensively. And so I think that our RMT has been a big part of that, is trying to basically make the OC kind of overcompensate and sometimes just over scheme
Yeah.
for him.
Okay. For
For
um
for
for
me,
the, yeah, go ahead.
I didn't have one picked there, but I think Jaden has probably been the defensive MVP, but I don't know that he will be the rest of the way. I got to tell you, David Stone, week after week, is looking like a different dude. Yeah, he's on an upward climb. The other guy that you have to look at is Kendall Daniels has been a breath of fresh air on this, at the cheetah position. He's come in and made some huge plays. Love seeing what he's doing, but I think it's right now. It's Jaden Jackson is the leader of that defense as far as he's gonna, you're what you're getting from him week in and week out. But David Stone has turned into a different dude, and I mean what he looked like last week and getting 3 sacks, in the game. It's just getting better and better for him. And yeah, man, there's a reason why he was the number 1 defensive line prospect in the nation a year ago, no doubt.
Okay, so we've got the transfer player of the first four games of the transfer MVP. And we were all pretty much in agreement that so far, just through 4 games,
Yeah.
as Marvin Jones Jr. has probably had the biggest impact from as a transfer from the transfer perspective.
No, I think it's Kendall Daniels.
Okay.
I hadn't filled it out, but I hadn't filled it out. So it's to me it's Kendall Daniels. But
Okay.
I think Marvin Jones has been really good too. I think he's been really good too.
I just think Kendall was a little quieter against Auburn, and Marvin had a bigger game.
Okay.
I mean, that's just my viewpoint.
He also
Especially with
he also had a horse collar that kept a drive
No,
going.
that's true. That's true. So it's always give and take there.
Not that I'm
So
not nitpicking at Marvin, because I think he's been a lot better than anybody really expected him to be.
yeah,
I'm
that's
with you on
true.
that.
It's especially from the difference from the end of spring to now is, I think, greater for Marvin than it is Kendall Daniels.
Okay. Yeah.
I just think Kendall wasn't hurt during spring. Marvin Jones Jr. was, and I think both of them have. I'd love to get another year out of both of them if we could somehow, by hook or by crook. But we'll see. But I definitely think they're both they're playing at a higher level than what we. I mean, if offensively would be Satania probably as the only other name out there, but I like MJJ as our guess. So Most improved player on the offense. I'm just cheating and taking the most obvious name on the planet, and that's Jaron Kanik. I mean, so I'm cheating and taking
Easy.
the John Mateer, as offensive MVP. As far as
I'm
most
with you
improved
there.
player on offense, Kanik is a very easy. I know he wasn't on offense last year, so maybe that disqualifies him from this. But I'm just going with him. He's had a sensational first 4 games at tight end, far obliterating any real expectations we had in August.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Kchris, you had Fabechi.
Yeah, I have to bet you. I mean, it's honestly been night and day. He's been consistent. Still not necessarily. I'm like,
Night and
oh,
day, though. He was the best offensive lineman last year.
okay. We can agree to disagree on that. Yeah. I mean, yeah,
I knew that was coming.
yeah.
Was there a best offensive lineman last year? Do we
I
have to?
mean, honestly, I'll be honest with you.
He graded the
After
best. I know that part.
that Ole Miss game, I think Howland and Ozida, I really liked that pair playing together. I thought they were really good together. Um, but yeah, no, I would give it to Fabechi. I think that he's definitely improved. He's been the most consistent out of everybody. But you've seen a lot of good things from a lot of guys. Just that whole we it's time to circle that wagon. We need to have that rotation as far as who's playing and who's not.
Okay, so defensively, again, I think you could choose any number of players. I went with Kobe McKenzie because I just think from his year over year, his plays, he's just raised his game and filled the leadership gap of Stutzman in terms of from that perspective and so on everywhere else. So I went with Kobe McKenzie. Kchris took again the best easy answer, Owen Heineke, walk on reserve to impact player. So Chris,
He's a
that was a
baller,
great pick
man.
of Owen
No,
Heineke.
no two ways around it. That dude is a baller.
Yeah.
So that was a great pick, Chris. And Jason, do you have a most improved defensive player?
I think you could go with either one of those guys. I think that's fine. Either one of them. But I gotta
Well,
say,
you could go with David. You could go with David Stone too. I mean,
think
year over
that's
year.
where you would probably fit David Stone in for sure. He's definitely put in. I mean, he got 90 something snaps a year ago. Had some injury stuff, and I mean, there was an opportunity that they almost lost him in the offseason over NIL and stuff like that. But I got to tell you, to me, yeah, I think he's easily that guy. Another guy I think that you could talk about most improved. Look, we hadn't seen a ton of Peyton Bowen, and he's been all over the damn field. He's been
It
great.
just speaks to our defense. It speaks to our defense that you could have gone Peyton Bowen. I mean, Owen Heineke. You could go David Stone. You could go Kobe McKenzie.
Sure.
It's been
You could go with
crazy.
Samuel Mosigo too.
Yeah,
Sammy's
you could
really
go.
good.
It's crazy the level that defense has played at. So, based upon the rest of the schedule, what do you think is going to be the game of the year? I'm going with LSU. I think somehow by hook or by crook, that game is for a playoff spot. And Thanksgiving weekend in Norman, that for a playoff spot, it's going to be a unreal environment even for Thanksgiving. Just because I think the weight of it is going to bring out something great in terms of performance from the Sooners. That
The LSU
the
game.
chance to, the LSU game, the chance to get into the playoffs with a win there and really put the. I mean, that's the final nail in the shit show that was last year, right? If that's the turnaround you've had from what we had last year to securing a playoff spot, I think that we know the environment at home has been great. It was great for Auburn. It was great for Michigan. I think that game for a playoff spot Saturday night, probably in prime time, I just think it could bring out something great.
I think that's fair. Okay, Chris, you've got Tennessee.
Yeah, I put Tennessee on there simply because of kind of the things that you laid out, Jason. I mean, playing in Neyland Stadium, most likely that will be a night game, regardless of what happens. I would love for that to be a 2:30 kick, but that's probably going to be a night game. I just got a feeling, man, that that's
I
going to
think it
be
was already slated to be a night game, no matter what.
yeah.
So, yeah.
I just got a feeling that's going to be kind of a back and forth ordeal. Just kind of figuring out that chess match. How aggressive is too aggressive? You know, I think that's kind of my biggest thing right now. Regardless, though, yeah, I think Tennessee simply because I think Tennessee is Aguilar makes them way better than what Nico was, you know. So if Nico would have came in there this year, I'd have been like, yeah, no, for sure. I think that we should go in there and handily beat them. Um, also at the same time, you know, if they would have had one of their other backups or whatnot, you know, take over, I would have felt pretty damn confident about this. Regardless, I think that's going to be a pretty good game. Their defense they play hard. That's SEC talent over there, and it looks like they have kind of, you know, they they're toughing this thing out. So I think most people will say they've been happy with what the product has been. They won that trade. They won that whole the you know shebang bang. So
Oh yeah, Tennessee. Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Tennessee won that whole thing with Nico and all the rest of that stuff. So I think a
Nico
lot
and
of people,
UCLA lost to UNM.
yeah, I think people are happy about it. So
Yeah.
regardless, though, yeah, that Tennessee would be my pick.
All
Yeah.
right.
I would probably, just to be different, I'd go with Alabama. I mean, you know, you're on the road in Tuscaloosa. That's a huge game. Especially if they win this game tomorrow or this weekend against Georgia, I mean, it could shape up to be a huge matchup. Depending on obviously what happens with Oklahoma in between now and then as well. But I think that game, you know, you've got what 3 weeks left in the season. It could be very instrumental in what happens, um, as far as the playoff picture is concerned. You know.
All right, well, guys, we're gonna skip ahead to our picks. Chris has kind of a little bit of time crunch, so we're
Got
gonna
it.
hurry jump
Got it.
onto
Let's
our
do it. Yeah.
picks.
Let's.
Picks.
Yep. We'll go to the MyBookie pick 5 for week 5. Last week, obviously, you know, Kchris is falling down. He's falling back a little bit here. And you know, I don't know what's exactly going on with him, but not looking good so far there. Kchris, you've fallen now, what, 4 games behind Mr. Mason and 3
Look,
behind me.
you you try to take the good picks. You know, I picked Indiana. I picked us to win. I thought Florida would play inspired, but I think they're saving that for next week. We'll leave it there.
No, it's
And
not like
then
you're done. We'll go ahead. Continue.
Nebraska at home. I thought for sure that they'd be able to. That would give them the boost they needed to get past Michigan, but
Should have
yet
known better
again,
than
Matt
that.
Rule's got to go back to the yeah. He's got to go back to the whiteboard, right?
Yeah.
And then also Texas Tech at Utah. Did not see Texas Tech walking in there and doing that. I thought Eric Dampier would be able to use his legs more and do things, but the offense basically failed simply because he just was not able to get the job done. I mean, I'm
Can't
just
throw it.
with you.
Dude
So
can't throw it.
yeah.
Yeah. And I know I saw Big Lubbock in there talking it up about his Red Raiders. I still ain't buying them overall, but I just had a feeling on that one. But Mr. Mason and I both go 4-1. I had the Illinois. I was way off on Illinois apparently, but yeah,
You weren't alone. So
no shit, man.
a lot of pundits walking back Illinois hype.
But yeah, and what I was gonna get at though with Kchris is like, brother, you know, this week I mean, are you already getting desperate here, or I mean, what's going on? You know, you got Penn State winning a game against a real football team.
It's hard to go. It's hard to Jason. Here's my thing. They're playing at home. Oregon. The reason why I picked them is simply because Oregon they've looked human at some points during the season. Northwestern. uh, what Oregon State for like maybe about a few minutes in the first quarter. They looked human at times, and so the whole thing is that when they play, they're having to travel across country to play at Penn State. The only good thing about that is that they get to play a whiteout in the morning on Big Noon kickoff. So praise them for that, right? But we all know that should be a night game. Regardless, though, I just got Penn State at home, man. I think Colton Necky will have something dialed up. I think it'll be a close game, but I got Oregon pulling it out.
Okay. We don't. But in that first game we skipped over, LSU and Ole Miss. Look, man, this has been kind of one of those games that comes down to the wire every year. Over the last 3 or 4 years for sure. I still think LSU is going to find their way offensively, and it could come in this week because Ole Miss's defense is not very good. So that's why I've got LSU. Mr. Mason, what makes you like Ole Miss?
Well, I like the fact that it's at Ole Miss, LSU. I just wonder about their offense, and maybe I'm giving Trinidad Chambliss or Chambliss Trinidad too much credit, but they look very good on offense. Obviously, LSU's defense is rumored to be good. I'm not sure how good it is. Obviously, the Clemson win doesn't look anywhere near as good as it did. Well, that's a little hard to play that hindsight. I just think on the road, LSU, Nuss is still kind of banged up. Not playing his best, and I think the running back is also hurt. So the guy for the kid from Duncanville that we passed on, much to our regret on some level. But yeah, I think that's why I went with Ole Miss. It's just more of a. I'm not sure that I really trust LSU on the road to get it done. I know that's crazy after they beat Clemson, but Syracuse smacked Clemson around, so I'm not really sure that I'm giving them too much points.
That's
too
fair.
much points on that. I'm with you on Oregon. I think it's too much off firepower and explosion on the Oregon offense. And I just don't know anything about Penn State at all. I mean, they played such a terrible schedule that
they haven't been. They've played really. I mean, they've played high school teams.
Yeah, basically. So I think that's why I went with Oregon. Georgia, I just think Georgia at home is going to be too much for Bama. Kirby gets the Bama curse off his back.
Mm-hmm.
Auburn, I'm just not sure Texas A&M will score that much on an Auburn defense that I think is pretty good up front. So I'm just not sure. That's a lot of points for me, and I'm just kind of going with a feeling on the Ohio State Washington game. Again, it's a lot of points.
It's a lot of points, though. But
it is.
Let's get to this Alabama-Georgia game. I have a hard time understanding why you guys would. I know it's at home. I know that they've looked like the better team so far, and I don't know that I'm overly excited about picking Bama in this one, to be honest with you. But Bama has had their number. They've had Kirby Smart's number. And honestly, I mean, Georgia hasn't won a home game against Alabama since the 80s, early 80s at that. So
they don't get it. They don't get Bama prior to this new football schedule that got rolled out Tuesday. They also haven't gone to Georgia a whole bunch.
But Kirby's 1-6 against Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, several of those are SEC championship games, and I just think Saban's not there. So
that's true. That's true.
So DeBoer hasn't proven. He's obviously not Nick Saban. Nobody is. So I just think, it's not many points. I did think about taking Bama and the points, but saying they would lose on a field goal. But I'm just going to give Georgia the credit here. And like I said, the last time Alabama played anybody with a pulse, it was FSU, who were knuckle dragging them around the field. The Wisconsin win by Bama looks worse and worse.
Yes.
So I don't
listen. I would agree with you on that. I was on with the guys from Sharpshooters earlier, And I said the same thing. Look, I have to tell you that I want to see them do this and not look really bad like they did against Florida State. Now this is the first team since then that's had a pulse. So let's see what they're really about. I think the talent is obviously still there.
Yeah. I mean, they've got good talent. So we'll
There's plenty of it.
defensively, I'm not so sure.
The thing that I like Alabama in is that they're throwing the ball around pretty well, and not even with Ryan Williams because he hadn't been playing much. But I think that the secondary at Georgia is a little shaky for at least by their standards. So that would be my thing. The Aubums at Texas A&M. I mean, Kchris and I both have Aggie. 6.5. I get it. I get where you're talking about. I don't think that there's any way. I mean, you saw all those sacks that Auburn gave up against this Oklahoma defense, and I'm not saying that that's what you have at Texas A&M, but you have a good defensive line. If there is a question, it is the secondary of A&M. But to me, I think that they put a blueprint out there, and I think that you when you look at what you're going to get from this staff there in College Station, I would expect that you get a lot of pressure on Jackson Arnold because he likes to hold the football. So, I think Auburn is losing at least 3 of their next 6. I don't want to hear any more shit about them being a playoff contender. They're full of crap. I don't see it.
Before I go, I just want to ask Chris Mason, just what feeling do you have about Washington?
Nausea?
Well, first of all, Ohio State's got to go to Seattle, right? So it's a long flight, time change, all that. The same reason why we don't like Oregon going to Penn State. And I'm just not sure. I don't know what to make of what Ohio State's done after Texas, and also that Texas win as well. So I just think that they're hitting on some cylinders, but not like all the cylinders. Washington State is not devoid of talent. I like Jed Fish as a coach. Their quarterback is pretty good. He's the kind of quarterback that can kind of keep you in the game. He's a mobile kid. He can throw. I just think that this is. I think Ohio State wins, but I think it's just tighter and a kind of a squeakier win than most folks are anticipating. It's very much more of a points play. If you're asking me, straight up, I obviously would take Ohio State. But if you're giving me 8.5 points, I think Washington at home. Jed Fish has that team kind of, has that program on the upswing. I like their quarterback. He's played more than.
Are you saying cover then?
Sayin has
win.
I'm covered, not necessarily win, but Sayin hasn't played a game on the road, has he? I mean, I know it's Pac-10. It's a Pac-10 road game, even though it's a Big Ten ring road. But I've been to that Seattle stadium. They've remodeled it since I went there. It was relatively noisy when OU was kicking the crap out of UW the day I went. So I just think there's a chance that Sayin on the road, that Ohio State's maybe just a little conservative and allows Washington to stay around into the fourth quarter before securing the win and maybe a cheap touchdown. Maybe this is a bad beat at the end, and that's how I get my cover.
Hey, hold on. Before I leave, he's alive.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
The clown is back.
He's out of protection.
Yeah, he comes out after what game? He comes out after you got finally Arch has a game against Sam Houston, and you're in here talking
the slump buster.
Yeah.
That was my favorite, and that was so cruel. That was my favorite image. Famous meme about the slump buster image.
Oh yeah, no, that was hilarious. I thought
it was terrible, but I'm embarrassed for laughing, but it's just so damn funny.
I thought that they sacrificed Bevo's bodyguard to actually, cause Arch to do something. So
for sure, Bevo's bodyguard can always.
If you take your top lip and connect it to your bottom lip, you will shut the fuck up.
You know what I'm saying?
And honestly, I'll get this in before Chris leaves because I know he's got his hard stop. I honestly chose Washington to just try and give you guys a chance to catch up.
Okay. Okay, Chris Mason.
I got like 1 week left to talk shit, so I've got to get it in.
That's insane. Wow.
That's awesome.
All right, John.
Appreciate.
I mean, I don't think I
Go ahead.
don't think Kchris appreciated my charity, Jason.
I don't think he did.
I don't know. It's just a weird game, right? It's just, what is Ohio State? You know, they're getting a lot of cachet off this Texas win, which I don't know. I obviously Texas is a good defensive team, but you know, we'll see what happens after they go to the swamp. You know. So exactly. So the slump buster image, which is just so awful, but just so hysterical. But yeah, I mean, I think otherwise, Jason, it's a great week. I could have picked a couple of other games.
No,
That
I
Notre
think
Dame
it's a
Arkansas.
fantastic week of college football, man. Fantastic.
As a OU bye week, if you can just sit in front of the TV, no angst, nothing, and just watch football, it's a great day. I mean, it's a day to have two screens when Oregon, Penn State, and Alabama, UGA are matched up against each other. Just great day of football. And, you know, I was a little interested. Do you think the Pigs can scare Notre Dame any?
Well, their secondary hadn't been real good. Their defense is not, and this is what Notre Dame does. It's what took them to the national championship game last year, running the football and playing damn good defense, particularly in the secondary and up front. They haven't been the same. They're running they're not doing as much man-to-man stuff. Coach is not happy. But I think talent-wise, it shouldn't really be. And you know, whatever's going on, it's always something with Pittman. You lose to Memphis last week. I mean, you know,
up big at half.
It's such a weird thing. You know what I mean? But it's just one of those deals. Models up and running. Not many data points, but OU currently number 3 in CFP ranking according to performance to date. Yeah, listen, that makes sense. But
yeah, I mean, there's a combo ranking of FB, like K Ford, ESPN's FPI, and OU is ahead of Ohio State currently on that.
Yeah.
It has Indiana like 2, so you have to wonder about some recency bias in terms of what they're doing and all that. But you know, Indiana kicked the crap out of Illinois. I mean, there's just no denying what they did. So I don't know. I'm just not sure what that means about Illinois. But you know, it's a big weekend. I think the big thing is we're 3 of our big time opponents, and Tennessee has a mildly interesting game at Mississippi State as well. If they are flat, Levy's guys and their secondaries in question. Tennessee's secondary is still in question. They're all banged up at cornerback. They have like no cornerback depth, and they're playing the guys that they have. So that could be interesting. But I think for the most part, 3 of the big time opponents we have coming up next, LSU, Ole Miss, and Alabama, we're going to have a much better idea about what they are with the exams facing them.
Yeah.
I mean, if LSU's defense shuts down Ole Miss and in the Grove, then we'll know, okay, that defense is legit. That's going to probably carry LSU through the rest of the season and some of their tougher games ahead. If Ole Miss lights them up, then I think it's a very different narrative coming out of that game, right? You're wondering, okay, we probably can handle LSU at home at the end of the year. They'll be kind of beat up, and maybe Nuss won't be so motivated. Maybe he'll pull himself to get himself draft ready if they absorb some losses. But again, that's the matchup I want to see is LSU's defense against Ole Miss's offense. Those are the 2 top units in there, and I think that game will tell us a lot. And also, I think the Bama UGA game will tell us quite a bit as well. If UGA is struggling if UGA struggles with Bama, I think that will tell us a little bit about where UGA maybe is. But if Kirby can get off the snide and he puts the boots to Bama, because he will if he can, that will tell us a lot about Bama and maybe the team we're facing that we face in November is just so different than the preseason team we thought we were going to get to play.
Yeah. Oh, and hey, Derek, you ain't got to listen to Ryman. Continue going after that dickhead. Go ahead. You can continue going after his dumb ass. Come on now. 48 likes, 98 people in the chat. Come on now. And make sure you're hitting the likes on all 3 streams. Get in there and do that. Make sure. Yeah, listen. This is a big one. Is Lincoln going to shit the bed against Illinois? Listen, I think he was talking about they had a late game last week, I guess, and they're going as earliest as you could possibly be. I think you're going to find out something about USC for sure, right? You know, I don't. But
I mean, all the shit.
Is Illinois better than what we saw last week against Indiana? I mean,
all the shit's in Illinois' bed, and they're still trying to dump it out of after Indiana took a massive crap all over them.
I think if you're SC, right? I mean, I felt like going into last week, I would have said there's no way that they win the game, especially going to Champaign. But you know, maybe. So.
Yeah, this is if you're still, and there's no reason why not to, but obviously OU fans viewing the Mateer news as negatively as possible. Some fans are like, well, this is our playoff chances are over. Just the mode some fans are in. But the more I watch the Big Ten, and I'm not really worried about the ACC or the Big 12 having more than really one, having multiple teams. Maybe the ACC will get 2 in based upon the strength at the top end of the conference. But I am definitely worried about 3 or 4 10-2 Big Ten teams with their unbalanced schedules. They're only playing 8 games, right? 8 conference games, I think. Maybe I have that wrong. I'll double check it. But I am, Jason, a little worried about 10-2 USC, 10-2 Indiana, and I don't think they play. And then 10-2 Oregon. I just think there's going to be there's a chance because of their unbalanced schedules. There's a chance that we could have a number of 10-2 Big Ten teams impacting whether it's 9-3 in certain scenarios. Oklahoma team can get in.
Yeah,
and this Illinois USC game is one of those pieces, right? If USC puts the boots to Illinois, then Illinois drops completely out of that. But then USC,
absolutely.
Yeah. And then USC rises up. But what we really need is Illinois to sort of rise up, take out USC. We need some cannibalization in those higher tier Big Ten teams of the Indianas, Illinois, USCs, and probably those 3 teams overall. Because Oregon and Penn State are going to play, and they've got some matchups there, and Washington as well is maybe somewhere in that mix. So I just need to start seeing some cannibalization, so those teams start being more 9-3 than they are 10-2.
Yeah.
I mean, same record, but you put OU schedule up against Indiana's, for instance. They're both 9-3. And you look at OU's record versus Indiana's, and strength of schedule, especially with the Michigan win. I think that puts OU ahead. It's the 10-2, 9-3 matchup that I worry about a little bit with the Big Ten teams, grabbing more at large positions.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So, just one quick little shout out. Guys, I'm about to record my recruiting podcast. I delayed it 24 hours just because I've been traveling. Catching me in the mobile Chicago recruiting headquarter office of my brother's kitchen.
Nice.
But
talk a little bit about that before you get off, though. We got to talk about the huge recruiting wins this morning. Huge.
Oh, absolutely massive to out-recruit Texas Tech's money bag. It's just amazing. I mean, OU just Nagy, Bill, Brent, everybody just flat out recruited Texas Tech's money bag. They basically, the kid said, OU's not offering me as much cash, but I want to play at OU. I want to play in the SEC. I want to be developed. That the money Tech's offering me is small compared to the money Bill can get me if I'm as a first round draft pick, which is right, which is all right. It's the
Not everybody
wonderful
is just
vision of
about the
Jason.
bag either. You know what I mean?
Well, we're offering a bag too, so let's not think he's walking away penniless. But Jason, for the actual recruiting to have an actual picture perfect moment where your recruiting pitch lands and convinces the kid, and we're talking about Cooper Hackett for those who are kind of catching up. The 6'7", 265-pound, 2027 offensive tackle from Fort Gibson, Oklahoma, home of Teddy Lehman, and Teddy probably has a hand in this as much as the rules allow. But he's been a confidant to the family on some level. I think when they kept talking to him. But Hackett's the number one offensive tackle in the country, depending on what service you're looking at. He's no lower than the number 12 player in the nation, and his development curve is sky high because he's just going to put on more weight and strength, and that will, as he keeps his frame is huge, his wingspan is huge. It's a massive pickup, and then. Something I was not anticipating, Caden Perry, the number 2 player in the state for 2027 and a top 50 player in his own right. 6'4", 275 guard. Could be a right tackle if you need him to be, but he could be a guard. When Josh McCuistion from Scoop, and I'm going to give away a comp of his, I hope he won't mind too much. I just want to highlight how good he thinks Caden Penny can be. The comp he used was Davin Joseph. And if you guys don't know Davin Joseph, go check your Sooner history. Started as a freshman, the best guard other than Ben Powers of the modern era, the post-2000 Stoops era onwards. Other than Ben Powers, he's the most dominant, best offensive guard OU had for a stretch. All-American. So, as a comp, that's super high. And the two guys had apparently talked about playing together. They both visited from Michigan and Auburn. And I don't think OU's done, Jason. I think we may have a couple more guys from 2027 fall as well. If you guys have been on my podcast, I've been talking, all preseason with you guys. I said, what's wrong with recruiting? I said, nothing that winning won't fix. And now you're 4-0 and you have 2 big wins. And OU now has serious momentum in 2026 and 2027. It's no secret why, because you cannot argue that Brent's getting fired right now. And the negative recruiting messages that were so effective in April, May, and June have just all disappeared. So, J83, I'll answer your question. We do have a recruiting pod on Monday, Q&A. So if you've got recruiting questions, that's where you want to jump on, really. But Taj Overton, probably not. Simply because OU picked up Tank Carrington and T-Ron Richardson after Overton chose OSU. So OU's got the 3 defensive tackles they want. And I think they're only adding a guy that's different than Overton. And Overton's probably a 3-tech, and they've already got Harris and T-Ron Richardson and Carrington who can all play 3. So I don't see them taking a Taj Overton. I don't see them taking Caden Jones. Danny Beal is a true nose guard that OSU had committed from Arkansas. He's probably going to head to Missouri, but I could see OU kicking the tires there. Maybe we'll see. That would make some sense. But other than that, none of you dare ask me what portal players OU should pick up from OSU. That team effing stinks. We don't want any of that trash infecting the good chemistry, good development going on in Norman. So none of those guys.
They got all the rest of those dudes last year.
Shetron, those guys are all just infected with the curse of a failing Agent Orange, which is you don't want that shit infecting Norman, because just stamping it out is just super difficult. So
you do not.
But yeah, it was a huge week, a huge day for OU recruiting. Bill's now got 3 offensive lineman verbals for 2027. He could have a 4th by the end of the month. I think that's entirely possible. All good guys, all guys that have camped at OU. He's coached at the camp, and I think that's it's. And there's more guys that could be falling for 27. And they had a big weekend from the guys from Auburn that visited, but I got lots of stuff on my podcast to talk about, so I'm glad I delayed it a day.
Oh, there you go.
All right, I'll take one last recruiting question if somebody has one that they really need answered.
Okay. Go for it. Ask away, folks. Ask away. Well,
if you want to get one last recruiting question answered.
Let's see. Let me get to.
Anybody's got one last thing they want to know?
We got the flip on the recruit we wanted. Sooner for life.
Yeah.
Don't. Let's see. Brewster has been crystal ball to Texas. What about Brewster?
Yeah, he's going to choose Texas Tech. Texas Tech is where he's been preferenced. He's going to choose.
Sorry, I missed the Tech part.
Yeah, he's going to choose Texas Tech, and then OU is going to work him like they worked Hackett. But they're going to work him much harder on the, do you want to be David Stone and be a first-round draft pick, or do you want to go to Lubbock and not be coached and developed by Todd Bates and potentially not be a first-round draft pick, because Texas Tech does not produce first-round defensive linemen. They just don't. They've only had one in like 30 years, and that guy was Tyree Wilson, and he was an edge player, and he's pretty much a bust for the Raiders. Because if you can't get sacks across from Max, what's his name? The Raiders defensive end. He's so good. If you can't get sacks across from that guy, you suck. So I think OU will work that hard. They will make a big push, and he's verbaling just to solidify the deal from the Texas Tech money people. He can move away from that anytime he wants. So I think OU will continue to work him very, very hard and tell him, like, look, you can be the next David Stone. And if that dollar number doesn't mean enough to you as it should, then, go to Tech and risk your development and your future as an NFL first-round pick. That's what OU's message is going to be. It's going to be, you're sure you can go here and take their check, or you can take our check and work with Todd Bates. We think the value of that experience is worth X. You can go to OU, and potentially, be the next David Stone. And by the end of the year, that message may mean be the next All-American, be the next projected top 5 pick in the draft.
Yeah. Yeah, listen. For all the BS that we're hearing from Bevo's bodyguard, but it's not going to end up on the screen because I'm just going to keep on following you all the way up there. I'm not putting you up here on the screen, and you're not going to get all that shit through. It's just not happening.
Thanks, Champion Standard. I appreciate the 100%
Champion
there.
Standard. Our guy.
Appreciate that, guys.
We're getting him in here one of these times, man. We've been trying to
get him on a guest, and I'm going to get him a guest on the blog. But yeah, I think that's what OU's going to do. And that message only becomes more powerful the more people like Cole Kublik say that Jaden Jackson is the best defensive lineman in the SEC, the best defensive tackle in the SEC. And David Stone is getting pretty damn close. And Todd Bates has coached up and motivated Dom Williams to where he's going to be a top 3 pick. Grayson Holton comes in as a defensive end, and he's going to be an NFL pick at defensive tackle because what does he do? He gets to the quarterback. And that's all NFL teams, a pass rushing defensive tackle, you can find a roster spot for that in the NFL. So, I think that's where they go with Brewster, and they'll continue playing that message. And we know Nagy and OU will put up money for defensive tackles. He's said that any number of times. And Brewster is a damn good guy. But let's remember, he was playing running back and no one paid any attention to him. OU is the first team to offer him. And Todd Bates is the first guy to say, you're going to be an all-star defensive tackle. We want you at OU. It took 12 months for the rest of the recruiting world and coaches to realize that. So OU has a market to play there as well, that Todd Bates can say, look, you were playing running back when I saw you. I knew you would be a stud defensive tackle. And since I knew that and was right about that, why am I not going to be right about making you a future NFL first-round pick? So OU's got the message, and OU's winning, right? That's what when you're winning, all these messages carry more weight to them.
Of course they do. Of course they do.
Simple calculation. It's very easy.
talk is cheap. Talk is cheap.
So, all right, guys, appreciate that. I'm going to jump off this, Jason, and get ready to record my pod, which should be up tonight, late night tonight. For those that are subscribed to me, it'll be on YouTube and on the audio platforms, just like per usual.
My man, make sure you guys get over there and check it out. Hey, it's so. Make sure you get over there, get on his Patreon. It's $2. It's $2.
All the best content.
All the best
All
content.
there. All right, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks, Jason.
Appreciate it, my man.
Always.
All right, man. Okay. Yep. Guys, appreciate everybody coming in. Bevo's Bodyguard, it's so good to see you back, even though you're dumb as shit. You know, it's so good to see him back in here making an ass of himself. I just love it. I just love it. But folks, I appreciate everybody coming in here, spending some time with us tonight. Make sure, hey, NIL Commish, good to see you, man. Satterfield, appreciate all you guys coming in. Everybody coming in and spending some time with us tonight. Unk, Champion Standard. Neilio, good to see you, my guy. Glad everybody could jump in here with us. We will see you all. I'll be on in the morning and maybe Saturday night too. So we'll talk to you all soon. See you on the next one.